Assalamualaikum and welcome to another episode of HUMAK where we share inspiring stories from experts from various fields. Today we have a very special guest with us. Assalamualaikum sir, thank you for joining us today. Could you introduce yourself to our audience?
So my name is Dr. Shah. I'm basically a mechanical engineer. I've got my doctorate in mechanical engineering, and specifically the field of my study was how do large structures fail. So for example, you've got a complete ship or you've got a complete bridge. So when they're about to fail, we need to predict basically how they're going to fail or when they're going to fail. So that is basically my field of study. And since the last almost 9 years, I've been working as an associate professor at the Institute of Space Technology. And basically we do research and I teach the subjects in my field of study basically.
Amazing, amazing. So could you share your journey with us, like what led you to pursue mechanical engineering and as your career?
Sure. So basically the thing to remember is that whatever field of study that you choose, they're basically they can be divided in what we call today's STEM fields. So we've got sciences, technologies, and then we've got management, arts, and all these different fields. So I was primarily more inclined towards engineering in general, be it mechanical, be it civil, be it electrical. So at the time that I was choosing my field, obviously and being a young boy, obviously, and we are all very interested with, mechanical systems like automobiles or even small toys. So basically, that is something that led me to choose mechanical engineering as a field. And I actually wanted to go into like aeronautics. So right now, aeronautics, it seems like a different field from mechanical engineering, but basically, the mechanical engineering field in itself is a general field where you can go into, for example, aeronautical or aerospace engineering as well. So that is somehow where where the decision for me to start into or to study mechanical engineering was based on basically.
That's really nice. As someone who wanted to pursue astrophysics myself, I can see. What inspired you?
So, as far as inspiration is concerned, that's a very deep question, to be honest. As I said earlier, there are a lot of things. There are a lot of systems that we see around us, be it organisms. For example, if we take a skeleton of an animal, how do they move? How do they locomote? How do they jump? How do they do all their things? So they are all basically mechanical in nature, right? So whatever system we take, whether it's man-made or it's natural, it has a mechanical background to it, right? So that was my basic inspiration to see, because by nature I'm an artist as well. I do a lot of photography. I do a lot of wildlife photography as well, and I've been doing it since I was a very young person. But so that is basically what led me into engineering in general and mechanical engineering in general. And if we look at most of our iconic personalities, for example, Leonardo da Vinci and other, they were all artists, yes, but they had an engineering or a physics or a mechanics background as well. So somehow, one way or the other, they are all linked together, and that is how basically I got interested into this field. And obviously, slowly, when we started to go deeper into it, you start to discover it more. Then you start to see that mechanical engineering on the surface may seem that it's just one subject, right? Yeah. But it has different facets. So I can go into the details of that as well, if time permits.
Yeah, of course, if you want.
So, any engineering in general, basically what's the basic premise or what's the basic function of engineering? Yeah. The basic function of engineering is to have a usable product or a usable service at the end of the day. Like you're making an automobile, it is no good if no one can use it, right?
Right.
Or for example, you have a mobile phone, a cellular phone, a smartphone, or you have any, for example, this microphone right in front of us. So whatever product we are making, number one, it is to serve a human need, right? And secondly, it needs to serve a certain purpose. So in any engineering, whether it be mechanical or electrical or aerospace or whatever, there are a few facets of it. The first part is the conception.
Right.
So you have, how do you call it? You have an idea that I need to solve this problem somehow. For example, to solve the problem of communication, we developed mobile phones, and before that we had, normal what we call landlines these days.
Yeah.
So from the conception, and then you basically apply any mathematical, physical, scientific rules to it to give it a physical meaning.
Right.
Because the concept or the idea is abstract, so you need it to have a physical meaning.
Right.
So that is the second facet of engineering,
Got
right?
it.
And we call this facet of engineering the designing phase or the conception phase. Then we need to manufacture it as well. We need to physically make this microphone, this switchboard, for example, these lights. We have to physically make those. So those parts where we basically manufacture or where we produce something physically, create something physically. Well, creation is a strong word. Make something physically. That is another facet of engineering.
Got it.
Which can come under the pretext of mechanical. It can also come in under the pretext of electrical engineering. It can come under the pretext of any engineering.
Okay.
And then finally, after we have manufactured and we have made a product, then we need to assure if this product is serving its purpose. So that is where we go into quality insurance. That is where we go into user experience.
Okay.
So that is another facet of engineering.
Okay.
Myself currently, for the past 6 to 7 years, now I'm more involved within the manufacturing part of the engineering experience.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
So to answer your original question, yes, you do get inspired to get into engineering, a certain field, maybe mechanical, maybe electrical, maybe computer science, for example.
Yeah.
But then you need to also see what part of engineering really inspires you,
Got it.
right? You need to be a master of all, well, you need to know all of these facets, but you're really a master of only a few of them.
Yeah, the
Right.
one you really want to do.
Yeah, so you specialize in them, you go ahead in them, and then you sort of you become an expert in that field.
Got it.
Yeah.
So, did you always want to be a professor rather than like pursuing a proper, purely industry-based career, or it was just like you wanted to be a professor?
Yeah, that's a very good question, and that is a bit of a misconception that I would like to clarify over here, especially for our younger audience who are looking to get into engineering or any field for that matter. Being a professor does not mean that you're cut off from the industry.
Got it.
So yes, there are two classical roles. One is the industrial workers and one is the academic workers, right? So we are in the academic field, yes. So we are teaching as well. But at a university level, and especially a university which is very much in line with the industrial setup of that country or even internationally. For example, if I talk about myself personally, around 30% of my job experience is related to teaching.
Got it.
All the rest of it is for industrial support. So we do get industrial problems, we do research on them, we find solutions on them, and we can deliver a prototype which solves their problem, and then we we try to solve the problems that the industry or any commercial sector is facing, and we try to solve those problems within the university as well. So being a professor, yes, primarily it does mean that you're into academia, but you don't need to be limited to academia.
Yeah,
You can always have a larger perspective of the industry within your job portfolio, if you may call that. But answering the original question, yes, I did like to be an academic person in that sense because I do like teaching.
Yeah.
And the other part of it is when you're a teacher, and I'm sure you can ask your teachers here as well, you need to be very up to date with the modern knowledge as well.
I can agree.
Because every year the new students who are coming in, they are coming in with a lot more knowledge than the students that came before them, and certainly a lot more knowledge than when we were students at your level.
Yeah.
Or at your grade or stage or
Yeah.
whatever we might call it. So being a teacher or being a professor means that you need to be very diligent and you need to be very up to date with modern trends, with modern knowledge, and it basically keeps you up to date and it keeps you very competitive as well within your circle of professionals. Basically,
Yeah.
you're not focused on only one thing, you're basically focused on knowledge, on the development of science and all that. So yes, if you want to keep yourself relevant and current with the world, I think being an academic is one of the best possible ways out there.
That's an amazing answer. So, what advice do you have for young women who would like to pursue a career in engineering? Because there is engineering for like women is not exactly encouraged.
Yeah.
So, what tips or advice would you have for them?
So yes, classically, I do understand that a lot of women choose not to go into engineering.
Yeah.
A lot of women do get into the medical field if it's sciences, and then a greater proportion of younger female students, especially, they go into arts and literature and all that. So I think with the and it was, I'm sure you've heard of Amelia Earhart.
Yeah, I have.
She was the first person who circumnavigated the world and crossed the Atlantic Ocean, and she was a woman,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
So classical roles are on one side, but there are a lot of roles within engineering which cannot function without women representing.
True.
For example, as I said earlier, that I'm for the past 5 or 6 years from the manufacturing background right now. So there are a lot of minute manufacturing techniques that only women are good at. Men just cannot work in those
Yeah.
techniques, right?
Yeah.
So, and again, classically, people think that engineering, and especially mechanical engineering, means that you need to work by hand. Yes, there is a lot of manual work as well. As within any field, you become a doctor, you become a surgeon, you need to work with your hands.
Of course.
You become an artist, you need to work with your hands, right? But the classical thinking that it is something so rough or crude or so forceful that women are not able to do that, that's completely false.
Yeah.
As I said earlier, there are a lot of facets to engineering. There's a lot of abstract work that goes into conceiving the first design. There's a lot of study that goes into designing the product, and there's a lot of effort that goes into the technical evaluation, the assessment, and the quality control of that product, whatever you're making or inventing. So women can, and they are increasingly all over the world, becoming a very large part of that process. And a lot of women are a lot better at meticulous calculation, a lot better than men are.
Right.
So, I mean, I would encourage them, and I would say that they should be encouraged more to go into this, because engineering field as a whole in general, it will really benefit from this quality of women that they have, and the men actually they lack. So it is unfortunate that up till now they have been discouraged for whatever XYZ reason, but they should not be discouraged. And there's a lot of space for women within engineering, and I think they should be encouraged. And I think almost 40 to 45% of our colleagues within the university are women, and they're all engineers. So
Right, that's amazing. I hope that clears out that you should pursue a career in engineering because it's for both men and women. So, what changes have you noticed in this field, like over time, and have you seen more women pursue this as a career?
Oh yes, a lot of changes. So back when we were becoming engineers, so that was around 17, 18 years ago, which is almost half a generation ago. So there were not a lot of women who were coming into this field, that is for sure. Because a lot of, again, there was a lot of, misconceptions or mal-placed perceptions into engineering. Engineering in general, not just mechanical or any one specific field, and a lot of work. Education like 10, 15, 20 years ago was a lot more difficult than it is right now.
Okay.
There is a lot easier access to information right now than there was back then. So, for example, classically within our society, or we know that up till a certain age, women may find it difficult to spend a lot of time outside. So since there was no access to information without you being able to go to the library or going to the university, obviously that did impede their their advancement into engineering. But right now you've got everything at your fingertips at home
Because of the internet, yeah.
because of we do take social media in a very bad light, quote unquote, because there's a lot of things that get associated with it, but there are a lot of scientific and knowledge based learning channels within all of these social media platforms that we use every day on our mobile phones or smartphones or tablets or whatever device we have. Like growing up, I was in the second year of my PhD when I got my first smartphone.
Oh.
And I'm sure you, as an intermediate student, you have a smartphone.
I recently got it.
Okay, so there's a huge difference where we started to get easy access to easy information, and where you young people can get easy access to information. And again, that would basically cross a lot of boundaries that we set ourselves or we set our younger generation. So there's a lot less impedance on gaining education for people of your generation than there was for us. So I think there's a lot more opportunities especially for women to get the proper education, good quality education. There's a lot of good quality, proper professional information sources, knowledge sources online as well.
Yeah.
Does not mean that you do not need to go to university. That is completely false. You do need to go to a university, yes, but how you augment that knowledge, because even when you go to a university, you attend all your classes, the actual lecture that you are receiving is only like 10 to 20% of the total knowledge that you're going to gain in that university.
Yeah.
Rest of it is what you study in the library or what you
study for yourself.
Yeah, exactly. So when you have such unlimited access and you have got that access 24/7,
True.
so that does change a lot of things for people who find it difficult to spend a lot of time outdoors or outside their house, and they can get all the education they need, basically.
Yeah, amazing. So, what type of challenges do you think people or women can face while pursuing this as a career, and what can they do to overcome them?
Yeah, so I would like to basically hitch this question or the response to this question to the last question actually. Since there is a lot of information available to everyone, So now it is very difficult to distinguish yourself as a better expert in your field than the other person, because he's got or she has got the same level of information or even better information than you have, right? Obviously, resources are shrinking. The classical method or the classical thinking of just getting a government job after you've graduated and etc., that is basically changing. The scenario is completely different. Now you need to have an entrepreneurial spirit. You need to be able to market yourself, even if you're working a 9 to 5 job. But you need to be able to market yourself as better than the other person.
Right.
Right. So these challenges, it's not only that women are facing, it's both men and women. Both of them are facing, because if I've got access to more information, your recruiter or your employer has got access to more information as well.
Exactly.
So if I give an ad as an employer in the newspaper for an XYZ engineer, 20 years ago I used to get 100 applications. Right now, through internet and Facebook and all social media, I'll get 100,000 applications.
True.
So I've got a much bigger pool to choose from, and there are a lot more engineers or a lot more professionals right now, trained professionals, than there were 20 years ago.
True.
So yes, challenges are increasing, but with those challenges, there is a lot of opportunity as well. I like to quote a dear friend of mine who's an industrialist. And he says that there are 8 billion people in the world, right?
Right.
More or less.
More or less.
And you've got access to each and every one of them.
True.
We didn't have that access when we were growing up, right? When you have access to 8 billion people, you know what their problem is or what problems they are facing. And if you cannot earn a living by solving their problems of a group of any one of those 8 billion people, then you really need to reflect on yourself where your skills are lacking, right? So with a lot of competition, you have gained a lot of opportunities as well, right?
Right.
So I think it's a double-edged sword. There are challenges, yes, but if you are able to confront those challenges with modern tools, you cannot have a classical way of thinking and expect to find a solution with that classical way of thinking. That is just not going to work in this day and age.
True.
You need to have a very modern way of thinking and a very modern way of tackling problems. Only then you'll be a lot better than your competition. And alhamdulillah, a lot of us engineers who are working not only from home or who are working from Pakistan, and they're serving a lot of the international markets from within Pakistan, and that was not possible 10-20 years ago.
True.
So yes, there are a lot of challenges,
but
as
there
I
are
said,
also
but there are
solutions.
a lot more opportunities for you as well. So I think you should not get discouraged from the fact that it is getting complicated to become an engineer or to serve or to work as an engineer. I think you should be encouraged by it. You should really take advantage of the technology that you have right now in gaining information and in delivering solutions to your potential clients, basically.
Yeah, perfect. So basically, modern solution for modern problems.
Basically, yes.
Yeah. So I guess we're gonna wrap it up now. And I hope this cleared out a lot of things for students who would like to pursue a career in engineering, and it encourages you more now. And so if you have any questions or any theories, you can drop them in the comments below and we'll make another video on it. Thank you so much for today, and thank you so much, sir, for joining us. And we'll see you in another episode. Allah Hafiz and goodbye.